Good evening, everyone. I think this session is titled appropriately right after Mr. Piyush Goyal talking about the potential of reciprocal relationships with countries that are more supportive than the United States at this point. This was exactly the subject of discussion in our green room just now, so I'll go straight into that. Let me start with you, Anshuman. We are talking about double tariffs in a matter of few weeks, but also the fact that we all look inwards and talk about the great India consumption story. Are we calling this the great India consumption story ahead of its reality check, or do you truly think this demographic dividend is willing to pay?
See, first of all, what Mr. Goyal just talked about, and I was thinking we were talking about it just before, that India is in a very strong position. We've got 1.4 billion people, we've got huge consumption. The whole world needs our economy, our country for consumption, and there's actually no other country with this kind of population. But which is all true, but if you really look at it from the other side, our per capita income is quite low. So this perception of huge consumption and a huge market is only partially true as far as I'm concerned. Because till the time our per capita income, which is about $2,000 per person, if this was $10,000 per person, which is still, we are not at any of the higher, richer countries, I don't think anybody would have dared to put tariffs on us or try to bully us, As simple as that. So yes, we do. Our biggest strength is that we have this population, and consumption. But till the time we at least don't increase our per capita income by 5 times, we are not a real. We don't have any real leverage.
That's a good point and an honest one. Manish, you manufacture in India for some time now. Give us a sense on the ground. It's always been a story about whether India is really the biggest buyer, or are you also looking at India being the hub to other continents outside of the United States today?
So we have to imagine our position in the global ecosystem such that it is unconventional. And you spoke about, do we have a potential to become a hub? I believe that we have to make ourselves hub part of a network, which is a hub and spoke network, which essentially means that we have to collaborate with consumption-led economies. For example, imagine if we have to look at exporting products out of India, the conventional way of looking at that is that manufacture and assemble those products in the country and export it to those economies. But the second way to look at it is that go backward in the value chain, do sub-assemblies, establish assembly capabilities out of other economies which say have free trade agreements with other countries. For example, Egypt has free trade agreement with lot of European and African countries. So can we leverage on that and export sub-assemblies out of our country? Yeah. That is what I mean when I say that we have to look at unconventional models. And I'll just quickly take 30 more seconds in making reflection on the first question which you asked, Anshuman. Of course, if you look at different times then, when say China got out of being emerging to say walking towards being a developed country, there's a threshold of then $3,000 per capita, which potentially is $3,500 per capita, which is a threshold where a potential unlock happens for the demand. So in that sense, our country in specific for electronics might be just about 2 to 3 years away from that unlock.
That's good. I like the emphasis on the reality on the ground when it comes to perceived demand and real demand. So let me get you in, Amit. You look at a lot of innovation at your company. This is an opportunity for innovation. Every time there are barriers to entry in parts of the world, it does put pressure, but it also creates an opportunity.
Yeah, you're right. One of the things is, of course, India is technologically very advanced. So while we look at the per capita income and all that, but technologically we are there because we have a big IT sector, not only in India, but Indians working outside. So innovation is one thing that we are very good at. And if you look at, for example, my industry, which is the elevator industry, the government is now introducing a new code, which is the European code. Therefore, the products can now be exported, which is the elevators can now be exported to Europe. So there was a little bit of a limitation before, because that was not export worthy at one stage, but now they can be. And if you see the quality of the product that India now produces, including my industry, that's as good as anywhere in the world. In fact, some of the products that we say is much better than rest of the world. We produce products which are better than Europe and even America. In fact, coming back to tariffs, we export machines to America from India. And with this tariff, I think, one opportunity I'll just go back to your first question to Anshuman. This tariff issue, we export to America some machines, but now we can look at other countries. That gives us the opportunity to scale up and look at other countries where we were not looking at.
I like the way all of you are following my diktat on giving headlines on tariffs. Good job done. Coming to you now on the healthcare sector. If one looks at any space where India has had the signs of leadership, it's healthcare. I think you were mentioning how India could be the hospital to the world because there's so many people coming in. There's medical tourism that's flourishing. Put the spotlight on what we are seeing as a built-to-scale story in India.
So, well, for last 2 decades, gradually India is catching the eye of so many countries for seeking quality healthcare. And earlier the story started with the low socioeconomic and developing countries, Africa, CIS, and Iraq, and leaving aside the affluent market. But now, if you look at even the Western world, those people are also trying to see better options, cheaper option, and since the quality of the clinical talent which is here, the skill, the nursing, India is largest exporter of nursing to across the world. So if they are finding, and as the infrastructure in healthcare is improvising, startups coming in and increasing the technology bit in the healthcare, I think the overall ecosystem is very attractive for the entire world, not just the poor countries. And to a simple example in NHS, to even get an MR, you get a 8 weeks waiting time. Here you get in within 30 minutes and fraction of a cost. So insurance company across the world was driving the business in Western world. I think they are also looking towards India. They are happy to fund the travel, stay, and yet they save a lot of money at the bottom and then get the quality at par with Western world.
So quick follow-up question, as been building in the health tech sector for some time now, one of the biggest challenges is increasing skills and retaining this skilled staff in our own country. As you talked about how we're literally the nurse to the world. How do we fix that? How do we retain people?
So gradually that's also changing, especially after the COVID, there was a splurge of nursing staff going out in bigger numbers than ever. But if you look at the clinical talent, in fact, I am seeing so many doctors coming back from UK, settling in India, because now they find their quality of service and they are able to deliver the same level, they get the same kind of infrastructure. They are ready to leave Cleveland, Mayo and come back to their roots and try and serve, and yet make a similar amount of money because the cost of living would be much lesser, and coming back home is become an added advantage. So India, I don't think that, I would call it reverse brain drain in healthcare, which was, US was the hotspot 20 years ago, but now things are changing. In fact, looking at the way the Indians are, at disadvantage in Western world, sure. I think India is looking very attractive, not only for patients, but also for the healthcare talent, which is working outside India.
Okay. Anshuman, let's pick that. One of the big bets in India remains its ability to leverage its, both intelligent and growing professional labor force. Where do you see that play out, particularly in the interest of moving away from potentially dependent markets like the US? Do we see a bigger play in Europe, in Africa, emerging to emerging markets?
Absolutely. I think our biggest strength of people is, I would say, this is our oil, but oil needs to be refined. And I think our challenge would be, next 25 years belong to India. There's no other country on the planet which can say that it's going to grow for next 25 years. So India has huge potential. The only risk is people. And we do need to do, that's a long discussion. One end, there's a huge unemployment. On the other hand, we don't get people. Everybody says we've got more than 1 billion people, but still when we go out to recruit, you don't get the talent. So we really need to do something on skilling, education, whatever it takes. It has to be revolutionary, because right now the only thing keeping India away, of course there are 100 other issues, but I see that we are in a good advantage, like for our business and others. Market is not the challenge, it's the people. If today I could get, and I'm sure I can see someone from KPMG here, if we get people, we can increase our business by another 10%. If you go to Europe, their challenge is they have the people, but they don't have the market. So in spite of being in that advantageous position that we have the market, people will remain a challenge, which is, of course, no doubt, it's our biggest strength. But we really need to do something to where we can skill our people and make sure we can grow at the pace we need to.
You know, Adi Godrej said this famously to me once, that we don't have an employment problem, we have an employability problem. But I'll just try to move to tech from labor. And Manish, bring you in. We are all looking for India to become a next generation industrial hub, which means we're talking semiconductors, we're talking about building manufacturing capability for many of these fabs here in India. In your business, what is a next generation business going to look like over, let's say, the 3 to 5 year horizon?
I think for us to be ready for the next generation, embracing digital convergence both in products and processes is necessary. And I call it an obsession. Like if you look at the decade gone by, we have focused a lot on, say, semiconductors. I mean, of course, if you look at the opportunity, last calendar year, we did about $130 billion of domestic electronics manufacturing. And 2030, a structured study reflects we are looking at a 425 billion odd. And last year, the local value addition was 24%. We are looking at taking this up to 45. Look at the compounding impact. From a $30 billion, we are looking at $160, $170 billion of domestic value addition happening. We can afford to keep semiconductor happening when it has to happen. There's a lot which can be done. We can build laminates, PCB bare boards. We can populate PCBs in the country, discrete, active, passive components. So I think those are the low-hanging fruits. So I believe that for us to be ready for the next generation, one, adoption of digital convergence, we have to make our factories as automated possible, as connected as possible, precipitate real-time insights to deliver real-time decision making.
Surprised no one said AI yet, and so I'll get to Amit with that. Amit, what's the role of tech in your business at this stage, and how rapidly is it transforming?
You know, it's technology is huge. I think, and AI is the buzzword today, but AI is one thing where we can excel. I think I read somewhere the data today is that by 2028, almost 80% of the companies will use AI, even the smaller ones, which means India needs to take the lead in that technology aspect. And today, if you look at my organization, we are actually using AI for everything, mainly for safety. When you think about elevators, if anybody's been stuck in an elevator for 2 minutes, it's like 2 hours. But you know, I'd say that AI is now being used to predict failures, for example. It predicts failures before it happens so that the technician can go and fix it. Similarly, in automobiles, AI can be used, it's already being used in IoT, can be used to fix cars before they fail. They can be used for traffic management, for both horizontal and vertical transportation. I heard Nitin Gadkariji this morning, the minister, he was talking about accidents, etc., which happen on the road. You can actually use AI to see where the traffic movement is and how to use the traffic movement much better. So India, I think, can use technology and can lead in a big way, and that will be the differentiator.
Ashish, I'd like your inputs there, because health is seeing AI usage, particularly in a country where inequalities are vast between borders and coasts. How can healthcare leverage it?
So I think in all 3 waves of COVID, you saw millions and millions of teleconsults happening, and suddenly everybody realized that there's so many things which can reach home even without coming to the hospital, and all the underserved areas, even the primary health clinics, health ATMs, and so many other concepts. And very recently, one Indian company, SS Innovation, they did the robotic surgeries from one place to the other country. I mean, they've done more than 400 now, including cardiac surgeries, gastroenterology, and neurological.
And there's now an AI-based stethoscope as well.
And radiology, and they are using AI. They don't need a radiologist, they just need the system software to assess the disease. They are picking up the disease much in advance as compared to a trained radiologist. And even in infertility, somebody has really used an algorithm to achieve conception in people who have not conceived for 20 years, because that AI could find out the most motile gamete, and they could infuse the fertility. So there are many advantages in every field. I think orthopedics, neurosurgery, everywhere we are seeing handful of AI startups. And overall, if you look at the picture, I think we are able to do a surgery, Indian surgeon doing a surgery sitting in India for Africa, for any other country. In an entire day, they have a list from various countries. That's not too far.
Great. Anshuman, we have three pillars that every organization, and presumably everyone sitting here is thinking about, which is scale, sustainability, and responsibility. How do you see organizations, not only yours, but as a nation, come together and focus on this?
You're talking about scale?
Scale, sustainability, and social responsibility together.
Those are all very apt titles for everybody, especially the large corporations. Yeah. Scale, I would say, what we have seen in last 5 years, I've not seen it before. We are, if you look at the GCCs coming in fact, leaving GCCs out, Indian companies, our business, we used to work with 90% of the companies or multinationals. Today, more than half our clients are Indian companies, which I thought would not happen in my lifetime. So the scalability of the Indian companies, forget the GCCs and multinationals and service companies, is significant, I would say, and it's going to rise going forward. Sustainability is talked to death. It's really important. We are seeing today what is driving sustainability is also the clients, the occupiers demanding, or the users demanding that they would prefer to invest in real assets, in companies for which sustainability is a priority. So the awareness level, what has really changed is the awareness level in our country for sustainability, for technology and other things has gone up exponentially. And I think this is a good news, and what he was also mentioning, we will have that huge advantage of leaping in development thanks to AI and thanks to technology.
Let's keep that theme on and talk about what challenges should we gear up for. And Manish, maybe you can start on that one.
So I think we are just about, as I said, couple of years, if you look at categories, air conditioners, we are 7.5% penetration ratio in the country, huge potential. Last year, we would have done 12 million units of production in the country. Comparatively, China would have exceeded 120 million annually. So I believe that it is around the corner. You look at another very strategic category, CCTV cameras. We are roughly about 12 cameras surveilling per 1,000 people. China comparatively is about 260, 270 odd. Last we took a check on that. That is the kind of potential. And on scalability, I think we are just around the corner. And when it comes to sustainability, I think of what we have done in last 10 odd years, a lot of policy interventions, we are kind of ready. We are top class when it comes to energy efficiency into products. The quality standards which we operate are globally ready. So I believe that it's a matter of time when we potentially unlock to be ready to be globally scalable out of our country.
It's a good point. Amit, I want to just ask you that. So essentially where we are today is that we're waiting for demand to get unlocked in India in a serious way. Is that the right assessment?
I think, we were just discussing our economy is growing at about 6.5%. Should it not be growing at 8-9%? We've always, with our kind of country, I think it should grow much faster. But yeah, the potential is huge, and I think we have a big consumption economy here. From my industry, if you look at real estate, that's doing really well. You look at infrastructure, that's doing really well. And I think we are all very happy because things are moving up. But can it be done better? Yes. I think there is a lot of scope for our economy to do much, much better. To leverage our consumption economy within the country much better, introduce technology which is for India, and then things will happen, because then you can export and make it more competitive as well. So yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's a good point. I have 2 minutes left. That leaves you 30 seconds each. And my question to each one of you, I'll start with you, Ashish, is that what's the one thing you and your industry could do in order to lift India from the 6% to an 8.5%, 9%?
I think, first of all, by keeping more and more people healthy and out of hospitals, that's going to keep them economically viable. And other thing is trying and, getting 2, 3 and 4 areas into the network of healthcare, trying to reach out to those areas, because currently healthcare is so much skewed and focused in metros.
That's right.
And, you get 10 cardiologists in 1 kilometer, whereas if you go to Tier 3, you would not have even a single one in the entire zone. So that is a big disparity. I think that has to be addressed. not just at a, an individual, it's at the global level, government level. We have to, PPP modes have not picked up so well. Government still has to look at 75% of the private healthcare which is being served. I think those fruitful associations will, drive more healthcare and better penetration across all the sectors, all areas.
Okay.
So that's what I feel.
Skilling people. I think that's the most important thing. The more people you skill, more employment. I think that's the number one task right now what's required.
Amit?
I think I'll just say that it is making people more employable, which is skilling people in the right way, and therefore this is not the job of the government alone. I think the industry should open training centers to train people for specific jobs, and that's most important for India, so that more and more people can become more employable, like you mentioned.
It's always good to turn the compass at yourself as well, and that's a good thing. Thanks, Manish. Your turn.
Yeah, so I think we have to rise to the occasion, and while we continue to stay focused on making sure that we assemble whatever gets consumed in the country, we have to shift that to a mindset which is more design-led manufacturing happening in the country. And second is, I think in this whole process, while we rise to this occasion, we have to look at democratizing technology. Only then we'll be able to take leverage of the potential which exists.
Yes, I'll just add that not just democratizing technology, but also increasing the demographic that actually earns and contributes to that demand growth. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Really appreciate. Built in Bharat, looking at scale, but looking at it from within the economy. Thank you very much.